So it is officially the last day of my junior year. Kind of. Technically, this is my second year at SCAD. I'm a photo major, writing minor. And so technically this is my second year. It's like sophomore year, but credit-wise, I have one more class and then I'll be a senior. So I'm counting this as my junior year because I will be graduating a year from now. I feel like this year has been a really pivotal point in my artistic career journey, whatever you want to call it. I felt like last year, I had the love for photography and I had the passion, and I knew how to work a camera and stuff, but I felt like I was kind of lacking the creativity, and I hadn't really found my style or knew what I wanted to be photographing. So I felt like this year really I was just able to kind of really dive into what I wanted to photograph and focus on kind of creating my own aesthetic and figuring out what I want to do in the future. In high school, I was like, I'm doing travel photography. That was kind of, in my head, I was like, that's what I'm doing. That's the only thing that there is for me. So coming into SCAD, that was still on my mind. I'm going to be a travel photographer. But I had also chosen to do a writing minor, and I was kind of gearing towards journalism and photojournalism. And so my sophomore year, that was my main focus. And most of my projects, because I was still in the foundations classes, I had 2 photo classes last year. And they were all just kind of getting used to the camera and experimenting, which was really good for me to get more comfortable, but I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do, or what I thought I wanted to do, I guess. And then this year I was able to really push forward with the experimentation and figure out exactly what it was that I wanted to do. One thing this year that really stood out is one thing about me is I am all in on one thing. And that's the only thing I can think about. I think I have a very obsessive personality. And there's typically one thing on my mind, and that's the only thing I want to do. That's the only thing I think about. And last year, I will say that I didn't have those photo classes, that I was really doing what I wanted to be doing. So that thing that I had on my mind, it wasn't really taking pictures. It wasn't school. It was working out and running. And this year I started taking the classes where I was able to work on projects that I was loving, and it shifted, and literally all that I want to do every single day, all day, is take pictures and work on something. So I really need to find a balance, because that is one thing that I really struggle with, because like I said, I'm all in and it's not necessarily good. Half the time I'm like, I don't even want to work out anymore. I just want to go out and take pictures. And that's good. I want to do what I am going to do as a career. I need to be able to find a balance. So I'm working towards that. But also, if I enjoy it, might as well do it. And I also feel like this year I was really able to kind of dig deeper into the storytelling behind my images, instead of just being like, oh, here's a pretty image. I was able to really think things through, think about what I wanted to tell, and then make that image or make that series. And I felt like just creatively, I was thinking a lot deeper and was able to show that through my projects. I also started an internship that I am loving. I started it at the beginning of this quarter. So at the beginning of spring quarter, I started this internship. And before that, I was working part-time job as the writing monitor in one of the buildings. And it was a great job, a great part-time job. But like I said, all I wanted to do was take pictures. And so whenever I was just like kind of sitting there, just like monitoring the room, you know, I was like, why am I sitting here when I could be out doing stuff for my future? Like, yes, I was making money, and that is very helpful, but I was like, I want to be creating, I want to be taking pictures, I want to work on my projects. And so that job, I wasn't enjoying it, but I still needed the money. And so then I got this internship, which has allowed me to photograph a bunch of events, and that was just like basically like an answered prayer, because now I'm getting some extra cash and I'm taking pictures. So I've been doing all the events and concerts for this internship, which I'm loving, and it's kind of opened my eyes to like, I've always kind of liked doing events because I like more of the documentary side of things, and so instead of being post, that's kind of a way for me to do that. So, but now it's kind of opened my eyes to like maybe I could find a job related to that in the future. For the fall, I actually did not have any photography classes. I had film for photo. So that was my only like major class that I had, but it was video focused. It was video techniques for photography, basically. So we were just working on videos. And this class, I will say, I don't have any projects from that class that I'm like, that's going to be my portfolio. I love that so much. But I feel like this class really helps me because I started to get out of my comfort zone a lot more. I was reaching out to people and trying to collab a ton. So like this was the first time that I had posted on the SCAD photo page, which is silly, but I was nervous to do that, and I do that for basically all of my projects to get models and people to help. So that was out of my comfort zone, but it has allowed me to meet so many more people. And I was also reaching out to businesses, and I worked with 2 businesses in that class to create projects. So that was super out of my comfort zone, but really helped me because now I'm like not as scared as I was before to like work with people. I literally just like walked into the businesses and I was like, hi, can I like make a video for you? And they were super chill about it. And both of the businesses that I worked with were like so good. I did ask a few businesses that said no, but I created a documentary, and that kind of, and I was in the writing for the arts class. So I was basically writing like articles about art during that class. And so both of those were really geared towards the journalism side that I had been kind of imagining, and I was really enjoying that. And so it kind of, I started thinking more about doing the journalism documentary side of things rather than like commercial, because my professor in that class, in my film for photo class, he was basically talking to me about how like if I wanted to do travel, I needed to like reach out to businesses and like hotels and resorts and like photograph for them. And what he was like showing me was so like commercial based, and I was looking at that and I was like, you know what, like this isn't what I want to do. And so then I kind of geared more towards documentary side, and I started to really like that, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. But I was still like figuring out my style. Like I said, none of that stuff is like stuff that I'm gonna show that to everyone. I want it in my portfolio, I want it on my website. I don't. But it was kind of pivotal for me. And I was really starting to figure out which way I wanted to go. And now going into winter, I had lighting, the intro lighting class, black and white techniques, and brand storytelling, which is writing class. And we are not going to talk about the brand storytelling. This, like last winter quarter, that was like probably the biggest step I've taken in my art journey, I feel like. I really kind of went from, I don't exactly know what I want to do, I don't know what I want to make, I have ideas, but like I don't know, to like, this is what I'm making and I love it. This was the first quarter that like I had projects made that I was like super duper proud of and I wanted to show people, and like this is kind of when I really started to build up the portfolio that I have now. For my lighting class, we started with products, and I'll show you some of the products that I shot, and I actually really enjoyed it. So it was like, that's what we did for the first half of class in my lighting class, and like I loved it. I was like, this is kind of fun, just like sitting in the studio, just kind of working with the product. I kind of enjoyed that. But then after the first half where we did products, we moved into portraits. And so first I kind of started with editorial. I was like, I want to do like an editorial type shoot. But my vision just didn't quite come to life the way that I wanted it to. My professor did say it reminded him of a Calvin Klein ad, which was a big compliment. And I do like the images that I got, but it just wasn't the vision that I had. And so that honestly, it made me mad. So then after that, I was like, I'm not doing editorial. And so I was like done with fashion, editorial, anything like that. I was like, no. And so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do fine art, documentary, kind of that kind of thing. And so, well, I'm gonna kind of jump back. During this, like I had my lighting class for a quarter. I also had black and white techniques, and for that class we were working on a series of photos the entire quarter, and it was black and white film. I loved that class. I loved the series that I was creating. It was called Man versus Nature, and I will show some of those images too. But so it was about basically the relationship between man-made things and nature, and how like humans are always trying to like cut down nature, like regulate it, keep it tame, all that kind of stuff. You know, as humans, we're doing deforestation, we're constantly building things, and it's kind of ruining nature. And so, but then nature, if you look around, you know, you'll see vines growing up buildings, overgrown areas. So I was kind of focusing on that relationship between like the back and forth, like who's gonna overcome. And that was really on my mind the entire winter quarter, was that like humanity trying to take away from something in nature, or something else like overcoming it. So that was really on my mind. And so that kind of went into my lighting projects, and they're completely separate. Like if you looked at the two things, you wouldn't think that they were related at all, but it was on my mind. The idea was on my mind. So I kind of started making things that were kind of related in a sense. So after I decided that I didn't want to do the editorial, we had a portrait portfolio due. And so for that one, this series was called Trapped, and I love this series so much. I thought the portraits turned out so good. All of them were like super sharp, and I loved the idea behind it and the way that they turned out. But it was basically, like I said, I was focused on humans taking things, and I was kind of like, I felt like humanity had kind of taken things from me and made me feel trapped in a sense, growing up. And so this project was showing that. I love being able to take like a photo series. I think I turned in 10 images that like just showed one specific theme that had a personal deep meaning to me. for my final in this lighting class, we could do either a fashion portfolio or a still life portfolio. And so I did a project that I called Perceptions, and it was still life and it was flowers. And basically it was 6 images, 2 triptychs, where it was like series that went from the flowers being super sharp and focused to like really blurred and like you can't tell exactly what it is. And it was basically just about how you perceive things. There's different ways to perceive things, and you never know exactly like if your perception of somebody is right. And just like kind of how you may see one thing, but there's really so many more layers and depth to that person. So that was kind of what that was about. And that was my winter quarter. It was just kind of, like I said, I felt like it was really a turning point, and it showed me the direction I wanted my photography to go. And then I had spring quarter, which today is the last day of. And I've had portraiture, which has been my favorite class that I've taken at SCAD so far, art of tomorrow, and promotional writing. We will not talk about promotional writing. But so art of tomorrow is kind of about galleries and how the business of fine arts work-ish. Basically in that class we just we did a bunch of research on different artists, different galleries, stuff like that. And so this has taken me really into a deep dive in galleries. I've kind of shifted into maybe I want to work in a gallery. I want to work in the fine art space. I want to create fine art. So maybe I will become a curator or like, start out as like a gallery assistant or something. But work my way up in the galleries, and then on the side, be creating my own work. So that's kind of what I'm going towards now. But that Art of Tomorrow class was kind of what shifted me there. Other than the fact that I'd started to make more fine art, it kind of showed me more of like, well, maybe I want to work in the business side of that too. And then in my portraiture class, it was very similar to my black and white class, where I was creating the exact same series through the entire 10 weeks. So basically this whole 10 weeks I've just spent working on this one project, and I've loved it. It is my favorite project that I've ever worked on. So I really kind of wanted to go deep into this series that I was making, and I wanted to push myself. I wanted to make something that I was proud of, and I don't even know how to explain what kind of led me there, but I decided to do a photo series on my dad, who has struggled with addiction and is now in recovery. And so I kind of did a photo series on him and his journey through addiction, mental health, and recovery. So the whole 10 weeks was basically just focused on him, which was kind of hard because we live in completely different states, far away. But I made it work. He visited me and I visited him multiple times, so it worked. And I love the images. I got so many. For a span of 10 weeks, the portfolio that I got from this class was, I think I had 30, I don't remember the exact number, but I had 30 to 35 pictures in my final portfolio that I submitted right before I did this. And I'm honestly so proud of all of the images. They have a very deep meaning, very personal to me, and I was glad that I was able to once again get out of my comfort zone and make something meaningful. That's important to me. I want my images to tell a story, and so I'm very proud of myself for getting to do that. I bound it into a book, as you saw in my last video if you watched it. But basically, the main thing that I've gotten out of this series is just that I want to continue making series. Like, instead of just taking a picture, because I find that one subject interesting, I want to make a series. Like, I want to make series that mean things and tell a story and work together. I learned a lot in this class about laying your photos out and sequence and all of that stuff. And so I really want to continue to build that skill. Overall, like, compared to last year, this year, I mean, I've said this a million times, I just feel like it was such a turning point in my creative journey. Like, my whole process, thought process, like everything just really, I think, took a huge leap. And I still have a long way to go, but I think now I kind of am geared, I'm turned towards the direction that I want to go. And so now I just have to go. And I'm really excited for what's next. I'm taking summer classes. So I have like a week off and then I'm starting again. I'm excited to keep creating. I'm excited to work on the next series. It's time to start brainstorming. I want to continue with my dad's series. I want to not redo, but I want to add to the Man versus Nature series. I want to really just dive deep into the series. I think that's something that I really enjoy, and I've kind of noticed that whenever I am focused on a series like that, whenever I'm focused on photographing one specific thing, it really like changes the way that I think about the world and just think in general. And I really like that. It changes the way I think in a good way. So I'm really excited to see where I progress. And if anybody has any suggestions for me to keep progressing my work, I'm always open. I want to hear feedback. I want to have critiques and I want to grow. But also, if anybody is like watching this interested in SCAD, it has been so beneficial for me. Like, I would not have grown the way that I have in my art if it wasn't for like the classes that I've taken. So very thankful for that. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was a lot. I just talked so much, but I hope it was beneficial. It'll be good for me to look back on anyways. So have a good rest of your day and keep your eye out for my next video.